Welcome back to another segment of Behind the Scenes of the Waltons. Recently, I had a chance to sit down with actress Tammi Bula, who played Marcia Woolery, and we talked about her time on the Waltons.
Well, I'll tell you, I always felt so welcome. All the kids, you were a family. You quickly became a family. And when I first arrived, you were 3. You had filmed The Homecoming, and then you were on number 3. We were filming number 3, although it was shown first, right? And it was the season and the premiere of the first Waltons episode on CBS. But you guys were already all close, and it was just so nice that you met us. You wanted to know who we were. You wanted to know, who I was, what I was about. And then every time I came back, I felt like I was going to see cousins. It was such a loving atmosphere on the Walton set.
I think we really tried to make people feel welcome and comfortable on the set because it was such a lovely work environment for all of us. Yeah, we were very fortunate.
So your question about meeting Richard for the first time, when I got the part, I had no idea who was acting in the roles. So the first day I arrived at the set, I got there early because it was my first television role. And I thought I better watch a little while to see how this is done, to see, what the actors do. And I watched a scene, and in the background, there was a young man sort of dressed in the period costume. And I thought, oh, that must be John Boy. I kept watching and just watching everybody work. And I see out of the corner of my eye, this little golf cart drive up, and Richard Thomas steps out of the golf cart. And I was like, wow, that's Richard Thomas. Ooh. My goodness. Then I see him talking to somebody. It was like assistant director talking to some AD over in the corner. And then that AD points over to me, and he walks across the street and across the grass, and he's walking towards me. And I was just, I became very nervous. I hadn't been nervous, and I became very nervous, and I was shaking. And I saw him coming to me, and I said, oh my gosh. Richard Thomas is John Boy. And he keeps walking towards me. And then I realized, oh my God, I'm going to kiss Richard Thomas today. Oh, I thought, and suddenly I just became speechless. And he just comes up and introduces himself. He reaches out his hand to shake my hand, and he said, hi, I'm Richard. And I looked at him, and I could barely speak. And I said, I know. He said, oh, you know that I was playing John Boy? I said, no, I just know you're Richard Thomas. The way he looked at me was really cute, because I'll never forget how he thought, oh dear, what have we gotten into here? And he was just so sweet. He said, well, maybe we should go rehearse. And we sat on a bench and we're reading the lines. We went through it once. And then he said, having to kiss somebody on camera is kind of uncomfortable. Do you think maybe we should just get that out of the way? So we rehearsed a kiss, right? And I just thought, oh, okay. I was like, sure, let's get that out of the way. I'll never forget that. It was smart. It was very smart of him to let's just get this out of the way so it's not awkward and weird.
So tell me about your take on Marcia, because she was such a interesting character, and she was so fickle, and she could seem so annoying, and John Boy would get so frustrated with her. And so what was your experience with Marcia, creating Marcia? How much of that was your take on the character? Where did all that come from, and what's been your experience with the character and how people have responded to the character?
I thought Marcia just popped off the page. I just interpreted what I read, and it was natural rather than trying to conceive her. I just read what was already conceived by the author. But my understanding and the understanding that I eventually put with all of it was that Marcia was a girl who was a small country girl, and she wanted to be bigger. She wanted to be city life. And that she read too many magazines. You know, you should play hard to get, and you should do this and you should do that. That it was like something she was trying to be rather than just actually being raised that way or whatever. That's sort of how I saw it. I saw that she was trying to be something else. Now, your second question was how people respond. They either really love her, they love the comedy of it, and that she kept John Boy kind of jumping, or they just don't like her. They just don't like her at all because she didn't treat John Boy well. The other thing that's funny is I never liked Marsha Woolery. I liked Jenny better, or they'll name somebody else, better. And I think that's great because that means that the fans had special girlfriends. They themselves had favorite John Boy girlfriends, which I think is so cute, So, but I feel like, if you didn't like me, I probably was doing a good job because sometimes she wasn't very likable.
It is wonderful the way that people connect with those relationships between characters on the show.
Right.
Are there particular scenes that really stood out to you that you always remember that were impactful in some way?
Well, the first episode, of course, all of those stand out to me. Trying to be disinterested in Richard Thomas. Marcia is disinterested as John Boy is reading her this lovely poem. And I'm like, how I'm disinterested in Richard Thomas? Who is ever disinterested in Richard Thomas, right? So that, of course, and it being the first time there, it was, of course, I remember everything. The one that really was lovely and sweet was the graduation. Marcia is concerned that John Boy is going to go away to college and forget her. She really does care a lot for him. He cares a lot for her, and there's a really sweet scene in the classroom when they're kind of saying goodbye to each other. It's not that they're never going to see each other again, but they're not going to be high school sweethearts ever again. And they say goodbye to each other and kiss. It's very lovely. The journey, John Boy is supposed to take Marcia to a dance, and then she makes him wait forever to let him know she'll go to the dance. And then he has to cancel because he's going to take, what was her name, Maggie? I think the character's name was Maggie. He's going to take her to the sea. And then Earl was in that one. Earl played Maggie's husband in the dance scene. So I loved that. I mean, did we all get together and gather and watch that scene being filmed? I think there was more people standing around watching that scene, watching Earl Hamner be Maggie's husband. It was so dear.
Yeah. I really, really thank you for taking time out to talk with me and to share this information with all of the viewers who have been such loyal followers over all these years. And if there's any final message you'd like to say to them.
Oh, thanks. I do. All of the people who are fans of the show for all of these years, they are the dearest people. The people that I've met through the Waltons always. I mean, for me, it's been a 50-year journey of lovely people, dear people. Boy, I'm getting sentimental because for me, it was a job, and it was a role that I loved. I loved being there, but also I was able to know, as I said in the beginning, I was able to know how special. When I was on that set, it was special. It was better.
Thank you for joining me for this segment of Behind the Scenes of the Waltons and my time with Tammi Bula. I'll be back with more Behind the Scenes of the Waltons and more Ask Judy. Thanks for watching.